Hi, we're now going to discuss the second reason mentioned in the holy and very, very wise book called the Bible of Jewish Mysticism, the Tanya, about why people get into a state of anxiety. And this is very, very, very interesting. I haven't really just seen it discussed in any psychological literature, but it's very, very true. And I'll let you be the judge of that. And that is that basically people have feelings of guilt. And guilt is a very important emotion that we have to deal with, because most of us have an erroneous belief that guilt is a good thing. Because why am I feeling guilty? I'm feeling guilty because I did something wrong. But according to Jewish mysticism, guilt not only is not a positive belief, it comes from the Yetzer Hara. It is given to us in order to depress us by an enemy within us. But in order to explain a little bit about guilt and about why it's not a good thing and how to overcome it, we have to understand, what is this Yetzer Hara? Who is this Yetzer Hara? Why was he put in us? And how does he have access to us? So the first thing we have to understand, that God created a dual reality. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we are conflicted. You know, we all have positive and negative desires. We all can be compassionate and we can be quite cruel. I recently met a vet, I think he was from Korea, and he had on, I guess it was baseball cap, different pictures from the army with little like pins. So I just mentioned to him, you know, coming from the army, and he right away mentioned, he says, yes, this is what a psychologist told him to do for post-traumatic stress disorder. And so I figured, I said to him, I tried to comfort him, I said, yeah, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder, know a little bit about it. You know, sometimes we feel bad, we have certain feelings of shame. And the way I was looking at it was that, you know, he should overcome some of these irrational feelings. And he says, I'm not so worried about some of those feelings. I'm worried about who I turned into. In other words, a person would obviously feel bad about thinking badly. In this case, he was a soldier, and I don't know what he did, but obviously he did very bad things. And he was upset, he was traumatized by who he had become. So the point here is that the Satan, the opposite of good, exists, and it exists within us. It's a very large subject. I can't really do justice, and I don't want to keep you for an hour. But the quintessential truth is that within each and every person there is what's called a Yetzer Hara. I term it a little devil. And it's an offshoot of the big devil. And it has complete and total knowledge of what is evil. And you are a good person, but it knows how to press your buttons. And one of the things that it does is tries to get you depressed. And one of the ways it gets you depressed is by reminding you of everything bad that you ever did. Because when you're feeling bad, well, that's depression. Depression is sadness, guilt. Another thing it does, it tries to get you angry. Oh, that person did something. Anger is direct. No, we don't really deal with it much in this book, but anger is really a mechanism to put you into a negative and evil state. So within us is it's called a demon, and it's like a bad angel, and its job is to get you to be depressed. As the Baal Shem Tov teaches us, more than the Yetzer Hara wants us to sin, he wants us to feel guilty that we sinned. A person who's constantly feeling guilt has no positive energy. And by nature, we don't want to feel bad. And when we're feeling sad, what we do is we're very much get into an addictive state. We'll just do anything to get out of that state of feeling miserable. And therefore, this negative spiral, so you do something, a lot of times, let's say people want to know how to diet. Well, the thing is, don't worry about it. Just be happy. Because what happens is when we're sad, we eat food as comfort, and then we feel guilty that we ate the food, and it's like this negative kind of spiral. So we have to understand that the Yetzer Hara is primarily not us. It is okay to have a negative thought. You know, one religion writes that if you look at a woman lustfully, it's as if you committed adultery. So imagine you take that seriously. So every single time you have a lustful thought, you committed adultery, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel terrible. In Judaism, it's okay to have negative thoughts because you are not the person that has the negative thought. It's the Yetzer Hara that puts that thought into your head. But you are the person that has the ability to choose to think about that thought or not to think about it. So we're going to end this segment just with this idea that within each and every one of us, there is a demon called the Yetzer Hara. It has complete knowledge. It is like an angel. It has total knowledge of good and evil, and it receives its energy, its life. It's like the Matrix, by getting you into an evil space. And the most important job that it is focused on is making you feel guilty. And in the next segment, we're going to discuss the ability to have self-discipline in the mind, and when you have these kind of elements of self-discipline and you can do things that you feel are right, then you won't feel guilty for doing things that you feel is wrong. But the important thing to remember is that there is no reason in the world to feel guilt, over something you have done, because if you want to change it, it's not about feeling guilty, it's about turning over a new leaf. Use that energy and say, okay, from now on I'm only going to do good. That was the purpose of the wrong, to make a stronger resolution in the future. And the second thing is that you are not the one that is putting all these negative thoughts in your mind. It's only your challenge not to be allowing them a space. It's like, imagine you owned an apartment building. So your challenge is not, oh, I had a bad tenant. Okay, that happens. You learn from the mistakes. That's a bad tenant. And in the future, you don't let such a tenant in. So when you become conscious, oh, what I'm thinking now is a negative thought, you then have the ability through self-discipline, which we'll describe soon how to get self-discipline, to overcome negative thoughts and only have positive thoughts. Thank you.